Thank you for tuning in to the best parenting show on the internet, Post Daily Dose.
It's the Post. It's the Post. It's the Post. The Post Daily Dose. It's the Post. It's the Post. It's the Post. The Post Daily Dose. It's the Post. It's the Post.
Hey, good evening, beautiful people, and welcome to another episode of Post Daily Dose with me, your trusted parenting advisor, faithful guide and servant on the healing journey. What's my name? Big Papa Brian+Post. Hope everyone is doing amazing on this whimsical Wednesday. Just had an energy burst, not blasphemy, just because I'm talking to you guys. And this is day 3 of a detox I'm on. A detox from sugar and a detox from carbs and a detox from alcohol because I like beer and I like Jack Daniels too. So I'm not doing any of that stuff. Energy was pretty low today, so it's back since I'm talking to you, and that's a beautiful thing. So I had a question that came in from Elizabeth, and the topic of today's Post Daily Dose is raising Ferdinand the Bull. Elizabeth says, I was curious about what you can guide me about my kiddo who loves hard. Hawk is 4 years old. Love that name. He is one of our 4 biological boys. The child is the sweetest. I call him Ferdinand the Bull. When he loves, hugs, sits in your lap, it's painful. He is physically intense, like squishing his face to yours so hard you think your neck will snap back. Jumping on you to land, and his running hug can knock you over. He will sometimes just give me a punch, not an aggressive one, but like a drunk little man at a bar. I love that. A drunk little man at a bar who just doesn't realize how hard he slapped your back. How do I love him well? And is there some need I may be missing that he does this? Or maybe he is just Ferdinand the Bull. That is fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that. And just as Christy responded to you earlier as well, I just, it's truly makes you want to just meet that young man. Give me just one moment. I need to close my door real quick. Okay, so here's the thing. With Ferdinand, probably what you're running into are some sensory challenges. And the sensory challenge, let's not call it a sensory challenge. Let's call it a sensory receptivity. The way he experiences deep nurturing touch and engagement is through much more contact than other kids. So if you can imagine him smashing his face into your face so hard it feels like your neck is going to break. Right at this point, it just now starts feeling good to him. Do you remember getting that hug? Maybe from your mom. Sometimes it even comes from your best friend or your spouse, where they squeeze you, but right there, just that doesn't hit the spot, and so they squeeze you a little tighter, and you're like, oh yeah, and then they squeeze you a little tighter, and you're like, oh, that's good. That's your little buddy. Your little buddy, Ferdinand the Bull, aka the Hawk. So his need for sensory engagement is the same as every other child, but his receptivity to it is much deeper. So his connection point is a few layers deeper than your other children. So when he engages, whether it's hitting, whether it's hugging, whether it's playing, whether it's scratching, wrestling, pushing his face in yours, whatever it is, he's got to get deeper in order for him to really feel the body contact. Here's what I'm going to suggest. Number 1, Dad needs to do lots of shirt off wrestling with him. Getting on the floor and wrestling and lots of squeezing, lots of jerking and roughing and scratching and lots of sensory expression. Lots of sensory expression. And I'm probably going to encourage you guys to do that at least 3 days a week. 3 days a week, 4 boys, there's a dad, get on the floor, in the living room, take your shirts off. The reason you take your shirts off is for that skin-to-skin contact. That skin-to-skin contact is so receptive to the brain. Heard Fraser Mustard once say, and he worked at the Canadian Institute of Research, I believe that's where he was from, he said that touching someone's skin is equivalent to touching their brain. So you get those shirts off, you get that body, that full body contact going, and what happens is you start regulating them. You're regulating little Hawk at a much deeper level of his brain. When you can get the body contact, you can get the engagement. When you hug him, squeeze him tight. Roll on him, give him those instances. And so when you start to give him those instances, the one part of him that starts to receive the sensory expression starts to come down. So it's the deficit is not there. The other part of him that's just needing the connection starts to come up. That's where you're going to start to find your balance. So the other thing I want to encourage you to do is get this young man into some physical activities, some gymnastics, some wrestling, some karate, some boxing, some little kids athletics just as soon as possible, because he's got a proclivity towards that aggressive outlet and expression of energy. He's very kinesthetic in nature, so he needs to be moving. Movement is how he's going to learn best. His biggest challenge in school is that school is set up for visual and auditory learning. They're not set up for kinesthetic learners. A kinesthetic learner, and these are children classically misdiagnosed as ADHD, when in fact they have sensory integration issues and they are kinesthetic learners, is that they need to move while learning. This is a young man, a little boy, who needs to be able to be up and getting some activity while he's learning. And if you can do that, if you can teach him that he can learn in his movement, and at the same time being really mindful and being really present, you'll help him start to be able to self-regulate more effectively. Now, right now at 4, he's still a ways off from that window where he's going to start to have real good, solid, self-regulatory ability. So you're still creating a lot of oxytocin opportunity for him. So every time you squeeze him tight, every time, hey, Hawk's mom, every time you squeeze him tight, every time you roughhouse, every time you squeeze, and then you calm him down. You bring him down. And this is what's so important about dads wrestling with boys. And we miss this. So many dads fail to wrestle with their children because they weren't wrestled as kids themselves. But every time dad can wrestle, one of the biggest responsibilities of the dad is to help the child balance out the testosterone. Every time dad can wrestle with the boys and then calms them down, he gets them up, he elevates them, and he calms them down. And a lot of times it's just by relaxing, saying, okay, that's good, guys. The guys keep wrestling, dad just calms, waits, stays there, breathes, and they'll start to come down. Well, what he's actually doing is he's balancing out their testosterone surges, and he's helping their oxytocin and their regulation ability to develop. So that really deep contact is going to be so important. And then when it comes to you, mom, you might not be the one that wants to be the punching bag. That's a little easier for dad. So start teaching him now that mom needs to be handled in a gentle way. And even when he's like approaching you, you can just say, take a deep breath. So now, say, Hawk, mom, gentle, gentle, gentle. Squeeze. Mom likes a nice squeeze, but you got to be gentle with mom. Teach him how to handle you. Teach him how to engage with you. It can be different with dad, but teach him slowly. But at the same time, give him the hug. Give him the tight hug, the tight squeeze, rock him hard, give him the good stimulation on his back, squeeze his little limbs, because you're getting under the surface of his sensory input. It's like that. It's like a Price is Right game. When you're kind of just dinging around the surface, and then you really hit that spot, ding, 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 his spot is just deeper. It's deeper than your other boy's spot. That's what that pressure is. That's what all that aggressiveness is. That energy, it's just deeper. You got to get to the deeper spot. So by all means, engage, give lots of pressure, lots of stimulation, lots of sensory stimulation, get a weighted blanket, weighted by design. Makes the best weighted blankets on the market, weightedbydesign.com. Makes the best blankets, weighted blankets on the market. So get him a good weighted blanket. That gives him sensory input, deep sensory receptivity and stimulation. You get him in some activities, get him in some physical activities where he can use that proclivity towards that intensity. He can actually channel that in a real positive way. Because I think his name is, with a name like Hawk and a mom who's already calling him Ferdinand the Bull, I think you've got maybe a future athletic superstar on your hands. So just nurture it, but at the same time, teach him how to interact with you. Mom needs gentle, dad can be rough, but at the same time, Mom, give him that pressure, give him that's deep stimulation, and meet that spot where he needs it just turns on the oxytocin for him, because the surface level just doesn't do it for him. Hey there, Johnny. Hey there, Leslie. All right, so I hope that's helpful, guys. Remember, in any given situation, we always have two choices. Oh, as I was about to say that, which is we can choose to react from our same blueprints of stress, fear, and overwhelm. That reminds me, Elizabeth, you and Dad should really have conversations about how physical engagement was handled when you were a child. So how did your parents engage and interact with you physically as children? Because there could be a real, I'm sensing there might be something there. Really get clear. Talk about that. Talk about that engagement, what it looked like, what it felt like, or the lack of it. Because you really want to make sure that doesn't show up as any kind of unconscious resistance when it comes to Hawk's engagement. Because if so, what will happen is you'll have a tendency to kind of want to push him back. And that may not be just because he needs that deep stimulation. It could be because that approach could be a little overwhelming unconsciously, emotionally for you and your husband. So, just a thought. So, again, we all have two choices in any given moment. We can continue to react from our same blueprints of stress, fear, and overwhelm, or we can stop, take 3 to 10 deep breaths, and choose love. And I hope you guys will choose love. God bless you. Big Papa loves you. Have a fantastic evening. Stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you tomorrow.